Hi, Luqman. So, could you give us a brief overview of your career journey in the field of risk management?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, good to be here, right? My career journey started in 2012, which is when I pretty much moved to Canada. I was a fresh graduate, business graduate, and I started working at GE Capital in their risk function. GE had a big financial services business at that time. They had very big businesses, GE Aviation, GE Power, GE Healthcare, and I was associated with the power segment. I was pretty much underwriting credit for their power deals, so I was associated in the energy infrastructure segment from that time. I stayed at GE for six and a half years, progressed into a couple of roles, and then I joined S&P Global Ratings as an associate in 2019, and then I was promoted to an associate director. My credit coverage, I basically cover 15 companies in the energy infrastructure segment, which basically is midstream, unregulated power, and LNG. So I kind of pretty much love my work a whole lot. It exposes me to a variety of things. I think over the past decade, I've looked at energy infrastructure, which I think is a very great sector because of all the things that are happening in the industry and the sector, broader sector itself.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is, what are your views on the emerging risks faced by the infrastructure, oil and gas industry that could potentially affect the rating of the relevant companies?
Yeah, so I'm gonna. It's a good question. I'm gonna take a step back. So if you look at beginning of 2020, the world was hit by the pandemic, right? And that was a massive shockwave. Nobody was expecting anything like that. I mean, in my life, I hadn't seen anything like that in lives of many people, right? So you would see shutdowns, lockdowns. So, for example, if you're a power company, right, that is selling power or that is dispatching power to the grid, you would be impacted. Why? Because there's no industrial load, there's no CNI load, right? So their revenues were impacted. The world got through that, right? Through that phase, through government stimulus and a lot of government support and whatnot. But now all of a sudden the world is looking at like an ongoing war, tons of geopolitical risks and everything. Obviously, Ukraine and Russia. Natural gas prices have shot up. Electricity, power prices have shot up. I mean, we in North America, we're like very much insulated. But if you look at Europe, a lot of companies are struggling. You can think about, a distributor that is providing to the end customer, power or gas at, let's say, 50 euros, a fixed contract. But all of a sudden, the price at which they're buying natural gas or power has just shot up. So I think what's happening, and there's been a lot of bankruptcies, high profile bankruptcies. Government support has come in to, try and make sure that, companies are passing through this difficult time, So I think that's the most relevant risk right now, because nobody knows where this war is going to end.
Right.
What exactly is it going to cost to the global economy, to the companies? But overall, if you look at the energy infrastructure segment, it really depends where you are, right? And the impact that is going to come to you. A lot of companies are also profiteering. So companies that were struggling, for example, power companies, they were struggling because power prices were really low during the times of pandemic, and now all of a sudden they're record high because natural gas prices are high. But at the same time, companies that are providing power to end customers, right? They have fixed contracts, fixed price contracts, but they're buying gas at record high prices. They're struggling. They're even going bankrupt. So it depends where you are in the energy value chain. But at the end of the day, this is chaos, right? Everybody recognizes that. And I think the world and world leaders are trying to rectify this situation. Where exactly this is going to go, nobody knows. But I think the real risk right now is Ukraine and Russia. The other part is, I guess the important question is like, where exactly is the systemic risk here?
Right.
The systemic risk, I think, is shock to the global economy. You're seeing countries like Sri Lanka, for example, defaulted on their debt. countries like Bangladesh that are, exporting textile, but they're importing a lot of LNG. They need gas for their power plants. So I think what's happening is that because the cost of gas has increased, and countries that are importing gas to, for example, produce power, they are suffering a lot. So I think the risk here is not only in developed countries, but also in developing countries that are importing, energy to meet their daily consumption needs, as well as the requirements of their industry for export purposes. So it's a very big risk right now, and I think everyone's kind of watching it where it goes from here.
Okay.